Feminists are celebrating how 2014 was the year in which feminism was forced into the national conversation. Salon's Andy Zeisler lauds how 2014 was the year when feminism boiled over into the mainstream. The Guardian's Rebecca Solnit also claims that women's voices assumed an unprecedented amount of power in 2014. In reality, you would have to have been living under a rock for the past 12 months not to have realised that 2014 was the year when feminists lost the debate on everything. Literally every major cause taken up by the social justice warriors this year was a humiliating defeat. Unfortunately for feminists, when the world saw the true face of third-wave feminism, it was soundly rejected. Radical feminists exposed themselves to the world for the fundless, hateful, vindictive, bullying, authoritarian social Marxists they really are. Even Time magazine suggested feminism as one of the words that should be banned in 2015 because of its tiresome overuse. What did feminism achieve in 2014? Well, ironically, it began with an overtly bossy campaign to ban the word bossy, which of course was never going to happen, but it did provide an insight into how radical fembots are trying to rearrange society in their image by policing language in the spirit of the party in George Orwell's 1984. Not exactly a popular blueprint to be following. Then we had Gamergate, accusations of sexism within video game culture. But far from exposing this supposed evil, Gamergate blew up in the feminazis' faces by in fact exposing them for engaging in vitriolic and underhanded tactics to target what has always been one of the most inclusive communities in the world. Feminists attempt to infiltrate the video games industry, the most popular media on the planet, and use it for their own program of insidious social re-education was blown wide open. Feminists made the fatal error of picking an argument with gamers and thinking they could win. The consequences were disastrous. The backlash from gamers cost Gawker, who had sided with the fembots, millions of dollars in lost ad revenue. And then there was Shirtstorm. While the world celebrated the astounding achievement of scientist Dr. Matt Taylor in helping to land a probe on a comet, feminists bitterly complained about his shirt, made for him by his female friend. Taylor made a tearful apology, but the wave of revulsion against feminists for attempting to ruin one of humanity's most revered moments in decades by making it all about their idiotic, contrived peeve was overwhelming. And finally, there was the UVA Rape Scandal. Having cited erroneous statistics for years to push a fallacious argument about rape culture on college campuses in order to defame men, feminists were hideously embarrassed when it emerged that key elements of Rolling Stone's story about a gang rape at the University of Virginia were completely unfounded. So despite the fact that many feminists are celebrating this as some kind of banner year for feminism, the worst thing to happen in 2014 to feminism was the increased exposure of radical feminists. 2014 saw a spate of appalling developments for genuine women's rights issues. From Saudi Arabia declaring women drivers to be terrorists, to a new law in Iraq which legalized the rape of women, to ISIS rape gangs sweeping the Middle East. But feminists were too busy trying to ban words and getting offended over a scientist for a shirt to give a damn about any of that. Feminism is no longer about equality. It's about misandry, PC authoritarianism, and mass social engineering. It's also about rampant hypocrisy, ignoring real women's rights issues over fears of being labelled politically incorrect towards Muslims while screaming bloody murder over a woman being complimented on the streets of New York City. More and more people are beginning to realise this, which is why they're turning away from feminism in droves. According to a YouGov poll, only 1/5 of Americans identify as feminists. Less than a quarter of women identify as feminists. However, the vast majority of Americans agree with gender equality. This tells us that feminism has completely divorced itself from the notion of equality, largely because it has instead chosen to represent itself with inane campaigns that have little to do with equality and everything to do with dogmatic, absolutist social engineering. In 2014, we saw an increasing desperation on behalf of the entertainment establishment to promote feminism via the vacuous sewer pipe of celebrity. Again, illustrating how this is a top-down agenda and not a grassroots movement. But despite the fact that feminists were routed on every front in 2014, they're only going to double down on their insanity. This is not a movement guided by logic. So expect to see the rampaging blob of radical Tumblr feminism expanding in 2015 to incorporate all kinds of new bizarre pet causes which don't resonate with anyone but unhinged radicals, cultural Marxists, and victim wannabes. And that was how feminists lost the debate in 2014. Check out the other videos, subscribe to the channel. I'm Paul Joseph Watson for Infowars.com.